Welcome to another morning skate edition of the Inside Edge. We're here at Nationwide Arena where the Blue Jackets will finish a home-and-home series with the Philadelphia Flyers tonight. I'm Bob McElligott alongside of my partner Jody Shelley, and we're joined by Keith Jones of the Philadelphia Flyers. And, of course, you recognize him from doing NHL on NBC as well. But, Jody, home-and-home series, what's it like to play the same team back-to-back, especially in the Blue Jackets case where they blew a big lead in the game in Philly?
Well, I think it's good for the Blue Jackets. You know, they went into Philly, they had full control of the game, and they left almost in shock and very disappointed. And the tone here yesterday in practice was, it almost was like a playoff series feel after you blow a lead in a playoff series. It was disappointment. It was they were a little discouraged. But you come in here today and they still have that atmosphere that, hey, we have a chance to get revenge on something that they really messed up on. So I think it's going to be a great matchup here tonight.
Well, Keith, of course, you've seen the Flyers a lot, and you saw them start off slow, and now starting to get their legs underneath them. I know Jody spent a lot of time talking the other day about having played for this team and so many guys, they're not as bad as that early record was. Are you starting to see this team come into what everybody thought it would be?
Without question, but it's interesting. The goaltending was outstanding at the start of the year, including Steve Mason, your former goaltender. He's had a little bump over the last little while, and it's been interesting to see the offense pick him up. That wasn't the case early. He deserved a lot more victories in the early going with how well he played, but they couldn't score goals. That has changed. They're a better conditioned team now. They're skating harder in the third period, as you saw the other night in their comeback victory. That wasn't the case in the early going. They were being badly outscored in the third periods of hockey games and really lost a lot of their games late. That's been a big difference in this team. They're skating better. They've got more energy, and Craig Berube's done a good job in that department.
Well, and Jody, speaking of that, what we saw in that third period especially, and with a couple of quick strikes, was the speed that the Philadelphia Flyers can come with, especially Claude Giroux coming through the neutral zone.
Well, they're dangerous all the time. They have size, they have speed, and they definitely have a lot of skill. And that's one thing about Claude Giroux. You bring him up. You know, he had a terrible start, and he knows it. But he's that threat every night in every situation, and he really broke out the other night, Jonesy. I mean, I'm sure you know him as a person and as a player, and the fans kind of waited for that. Well, that's what they've been waiting for all year. And I mean, he had a 4-point night, I think, and you could see it in his eyes. I mean, he wasn't going to be denied. Now there was some good bounces. I don't think Coburn practices. He practices a lot of things in practice, but I don't think he practiced that shot, Jonesy.
No, but he had a heck of a game. Yeah. For Braden Coburn, he's kind of got the coach's trust and allowing him to just go whenever he feels like it. That's an element we haven't seen from him in the past. It's a kind of a good element, I think, that's brought some more offense to the Flyers, especially from the blue line, which was an area they struggled with early on. It's going to be interesting to see how this game unfolds, and I do think the Blue Jackets have short memories and will be able to bounce back here with a real difficult challenge.
And yeah, well, and you bring up the Blue Jackets. What's your thought of the Blue Jackets? You haven't seen them much. I mean, you do national games, but you know they get Gaborik and Wisniewski back tonight. You saw what they were the other night. They're definitely young, but what's your impression of what you see in them?
I think they're a playoff team, and when they get Horton back in the mix too, it's going to be a really added bonus for this Columbus Blue Jackets team. Obviously, Bobrovsky not being available, that hurts, and I think you saw some of that as McElligott played well in the first period and then kind of faltered late in that game. But they're a dangerous team in a division, in that Metropolitan Division, that's not got a lot of teams that are on fire. So they got a lot of room to gain. And I think this is a real important test for Columbus tonight to see how they bounce back after that difficult loss. But having the additions of Wisniewski and Gaborik back in the mix certainly makes them an even more dangerous opponent. There's a lot to like about this team. They're a dangerous team moving forward.
You know, speaking of you doing national games, and you see a lot of things, and what was it, about a week or two ago, I was watching NHL Network, and they were talking about, was it Getzlaf that scored from his knees for Anaheim? And they were saying, well, this could be the goal of the year. This is going to be the goal of the year right now. Keith, the goal that Claude Giroux scored the other night, being knocked down, not looking at the net, backhand, top shelf. When's the last time you've seen one better than that?
It's been a long time. We were trying to think of Flyers goals in the last 10 years that were better, and there hasn't been any. That's how good that goal was. And remember back to the days of Lindros playing with the Flyers. He scored some pretty amazing goals as well. But Giroux's got the skills, and Jody knows from playing with him and being on the same team that the spinorama moves that he possesses, some of the shootout moves that he can bring to the table. But to have the skill to go to the backhand, protect the puck, spin off, and then have enough sense to elevate it short side, those are things that 99.9% of the players can't do. So it's going to be tough to beat that goal this year.
Did you ever play any 3-on-3 against him in practice?
During the lockout, yeah, there was a few moments where we dangled against each other, and it was. I just play the body in that situation, Bob.
Probably a smart thing to do. Keith, what's your overall picture of the league right now? You talked about the Metropolitan Division. It is kind of surprising that Pittsburgh's one team that's jumped out and everybody else is kind of in a log jam. But just overall view of the league right now. Do you like what you're seeing?
I do. The Western Conference is outstanding, and the top teams in the West are scary good. And different. Chicago is a high-flying, stretch the D, go, end-to-end rushes and a really active defense. LA sits back, just plays strong, solid defense, waits for their opportunities, and finds ways to beat you that way. Anaheim's got a bit of both. They've got the speed and they've got the skill with Getzlaf and Perry, and they got a young defense that's pretty active, and they've got great goaltending. To me, those are the three teams that really stand out. San Jose has gone for their usual swoon right about this time of year. We'll see if they get it back. They'll be in the playoffs, and a lot of people will pick them to win, but they probably won't. But the West is really where the strength adds. To me, it's going to be difficult for anybody to come out of the West. That may be an advantage for the East. The Eastern Conference, to me, is wide open. The exception of the Penguins, who seem to be above and beyond everybody else right now, especially with the injuries they have. If they can get healthy, they'll be really tough to beat. Bruins, of course, will be right there, but the rest is wide open. Great opportunities for any team in the Eastern Conference come trade deadline to maybe strengthen their team a little bit and take a run at it.
Glad you said that about the Sharks. I think that every year, and nobody ever says it. But, Keith is going to think that we're so professional and so serious. I'm sitting here like 5.5 minutes going, we haven't joked around once on this thing today. What's going on?
We're all business today. I mean, it's that atmosphere, Got the Blue Jackets got put in their place the other night. We had to fly home with them. It was as quiet as an empty church in there. It was just it was bad. But I think we're feeling that, Bob.
Yeah, I do think you're right about that. Keith, one last thing about.
Wait a second. Maybe it has something to do with your tie too. You got that Christmas Winnie the Pooh tie going. I mean, it's very nice. Winnie the Pooh's opening the box with what's he got there? Candy canes and little angels. Yeah, it's sharp. Maybe that's throwing us off.
I own one Christmas tie. My wife gave it to me before she was my wife, I believe. So it's a pretty old tie, I can tell you that. Keith, Jody mentioned Wisniewski and Gaborik coming back. Marian Gaborik, you've seen him play a lot. I know he wasn't really lighting it up before he got hurt here, but what kind of an element do you feel that he adds to a game?
Speed, without question, and the touchy, the goal-scoring type of attitude that he has certainly helps, as our Flyer brethren look on and try to give it to us over here. But no, he without question forces defensemen to be aware when he's on the ice. The skill level's there, and we'll see if the determination matches it. Sometimes it is missing, but when he's on, and you have to be aware of him.
Yeah, your other broadcasters over here. I don't know if they're jealous that we didn't ask them to come on, or if they're. Now you've got to share the box again tonight with Steve Coates, right?
Yeah. What an experience. I mean, I think he is laughing or joking around 85% of his day. Anytime you see him, he's got some crack or smile, and really, he's a pleasure to be around. And I know Jonesy and Jim Jackson pick on him quite a bit from upstairs in the booth, and it's actually fun to watch or listen to. But they have a cast of characters. They have fun, and can learn a lot from Steve Coates, especially down at ice level.
I got to give Timmy Saunders a plug. Everybody forgets about the radio guy, so so he's over there as well. Well, for the Blue Jackets' last game at home before Christmas, one more game before Christmas. That'll be on Monday in Carolina. But we're here tonight at 7 o'clock. The gates will open at 6 o'clock tonight. Jody will be back between the benches on Fox Sports Ohio with Jeff Rimmer and Bill Davidge, and I will be on the Blue Jackets radio network tonight. So we hope you join us. Thanks to Keith Jones for coming on today. For Jody Shelley, I'm Bob McElligott, and thanks for listening to the Morning Skate edition of The Inside Edge.